what you call a black sheep, always happy, I know. You can't control a black sheep, this is how we roll. I'm what you call a black sheep, always happy, I know. You can't control a black sheep, this is how we roll. I'm what you call a black sheep, always happy, I know.
All right, everybody. It is Sunday again, 5 p.m. Eastern. Welcome to the cluster feck. Trying to be nice on the first 10 minutes of the show. We have an interesting show today. Originally, I was not really going to talk about David Wilcock, or I was going to just kind of mention briefly, but I compiled and look at what people were saying, and I thought, wow, that's a first half of the show. So, of course, the first half of the show is going to be talking about David Wilcock. We'll do a little intermission. I'll switch things up, and we're going to go into Malachi Martin, he was a retired Jesuit priest, possibly even a Vatican spy, you guys. We're going to talk about what he had to say about the New World Order. That's right. But first things first, we have a new member on the memberships. I'm going to be loading more content into there and doing some live streams for the members. But we want to say, we've got 2 members. So now we have 2 members. I have to call 2 of them out. We just got one right now. Dorothy has become a member at the Supreme level. And then we have Eric Merrick. Shout out to Eric Merrick for being a member. You guys all get your owl badges now. The owl of discernment, not the Moloch owl. It's just amazing what these kind of culty satanic people do. So Eric Merrick and Dorothy Martell are our first members. And of course, if you're a member, you can start at $2.99 just to be a member and show you all the rewards levels. And of course, you can also support the channel by subscribing, liking the content, and you can also share the content if you can't become a member. You can also send a super chat, a super sticker, stuff like that. That helps it all. But of course, I know we are on hard times right now, and a lot of people just don't have it in the budget. So subscribe and click that thumbs up, comments in the chat all help this thing grow. So everything you do is part of observing, not absorbing this clusterfuck. All right. Yeah, there. Eric's in the room. Thank you for being a member, Eric. I really appreciate that. That is fantastic. Yeah, we have DAJC9JZ saying David was a targeted individual. We'll get into stuff. I'm going to be balanced and fair. I'm going to give a couple of perspective, but it's strange and it's weird, and it's possible that, what word shall I use, that he unalived himself. He has some criteria, but there's also some other elements we need to look at in this case and kind of discuss it with the utmost respect. Of course, huge condolences for David Wilcock and his family. A lot of his fans and his followers are very upset about this. We are going to start off looking at a couple of clips from his last live stream. He literally had a live stream 2 days before this event happened in Colorado. I believe he lived just outside of Denver. Kyle Smith, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being on the live stream. Yeah. So before I get into that, of course, the website is theclusterfuck.com. You can find all the links there. I'm trying to put a page up for a book page because I'm going to try to actually finish books like Hollywood Babylon. I also have one on, it's more of a Catholic kind of bent. I'm trying to get that done. It's by the Dr. Deep State. So I've got a couple of books I want to take some time. Yeah. I want to take some time to get some books up, and then I'll have a website page looking at books. I may even talk about the books on member live streams. So there's that. And then of course yesterday, I don't have all the deets on this one. I kind of ignored it because we had the Donald Trump, another assassination attempt in his, what was that? The White House. What did they call it again? You guys, their little dinner is actually funded by, of all places, Grinder. Grinder. So I can't even that White House Correspondents' Dinner Party, and apparently Trump has always avoided these White House Correspondents' Dinner Party, and then suddenly he's going to one, and it's literally got everybody from his administration, the who's who of the administration there. Like, even Kash Patel, like, it's like all the major actors are there, and it felt like a movie, and Erica Kirk is there, and someone apparently attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. Erica Kirk crying, "I wanna go home." Finally, she wants to go home, trying to be empathetic to these crazy people. But, yeah, they had the White House Correspondents' Dinner funded by Grindr. So, what was it? I posted something about this, and I believe we got some commentary on the post. Gabrielle Light Travel said, "Is this related to the fact that Grindr servers used to go down whenever and wherever there was a mega convention?" And seriously, there would be a mega convention happening, and then suddenly Grindr services would go down, and now Grindr is, funding money for the White House. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. But if yeah. Are you saying it was staged? I most certainly am saying it was staged. We are going to see psyop after psyop after psyop after psyop. This was even worse than Donald Trump's Butler, Pennsylvania thing, which I actually believed at first. I thought, "Oh my God, they're trying to kill him." And then when I got the footage of that other angle, I knew that that was staged. So if Butler, Pennsylvania was staged, we either have to believe that they staged an assassination and somebody died, or they staged an assassination and the guy in the audience didn't really die. He was an actor too, and it's all fake. Personally, I don't think they would shed too many tears if somebody died in the audience. So, I mean, what do I know? Well, what do I know? Right? But everybody, I'm telling you, if you go, there's people who are defending it, and all the influencers on X. I took X off my phone because I didn't want to get pulled in to this speculative, crazy world. All the influencers are going, "How dare you stop trying to kill our president?" And I'm like, this screams stage psyop, like I've never heard anything before in my life. I mean, just look at it. Erica Kirk's crying, "I wanna go home." Donald Trump's just sitting there like, "Mhm." Like, 'cause they know this is all staged. And, everyone's like, "Let me guess, the terrorist is from Iran or has been to Iran," or it's just like it's like they've gotten really bad at writing the scripts. It's either that or there's just so many people awake. You should see it all over the internet. People are like, stage, fake, phony, oh my god," right? So I was like, I've gotta stop responding to this because it's ridiculous, and it's just pulling you back into their crazy mega. He's trying to pull people's energy back to mega because he knows his numbers are waning. He wants people to believe that Iran is really trying to attack him and get him. He wants your energy to push this war more. That's exactly what it wants. And then Erica's purpose is, "Oh, people are attacking me. It's evil Candace. It's evil this." They want to go with that narrative. That's exactly what they're doing. And it's just fake and it's ridiculous. And so many people were like, oh, okay. And here's the thing, CIA, FBI, whoever helped formulate this psyop, you cry wolf too many times, people aren't ever going to believe you. And one time, they might really have to believe you. That's the problem with crying wolf. So Donald Trump, the president who cries wolf all the time, another assassination attempt where he's sitting there like he's tough. And DC Mega is owned by Netanyahu. Even Mega does not want that. Well, most of them. They still have their hardcore people and the little, the women going, "How dare you?" They're sounding like Greta Thunberg. They used to make fun of Greta, and now they're sounding like her. Outraged. And they think when they see me say this, they're like, "Oh, one of you crazy people." I'm like, I'm not the crazy one. Screaming and freaking out. Matt Walsh is going on and on. It's just like, once you see it, once you see the template, once you see the fakery, you just can't unsee it. You see it everywhere. You start seeing how they're doing it. And you don't trust anything, unfortunately. So that's where I am on that Donald Trump stuff, and I'm sure we're gonna hear tons of information. We're gonna hear tons of stuff about this in the weeks, and people are be squawking, and then a month from now, everybody will forget, and they'll try to shove it on the rug, and Donald Trump will be like, What are you talking about? What Epstein list? Where's it going? Huh?" I wonder, you gotta wonder about everything. You gotta wonder about Reagan. Obviously, JFK's was real because he was probably the last president America had that actually had vested interest in America. Not saying he's perfect. He's probably one of the last. But you gotta wonder about all the stuff that happens in politics now because it's quite insane. And I don't know who's writing the scripts, but people are breaking out of it and they're calling it out like crazy. Nobody believes nobody believes it. And people like Dee Dee got a podcast, Jimmy Dore, they're already talking about Butler, which I covered like at least a year ago. I've covered this multiple times that Butler, Pennsylvania was probably fake. Other big podcasts are starting to talk about it too, saying, "Wow, this is fake. This can't be real." So it's happening. People are like, wow, we really do live in a clusterfuck." Like for real. So enough about Donald Trump. Mm, we are sadly going to go in. JFK, the last president America had. I think so. And by no means was he perfect or was he without problems. But he wasn't controlled by a foreign government. He might have been controlled by the mafia, I don't know. He was also the only Catholic president I believe we've had. Everybody else is secret Zionists or, what do you call it? They're not necessarily evangelical, but, Freemasons, probably more like it. Most likely secret Zionists. Pretending, they get married. They get married, they have kids, and then they're off to their little Moloch ceremonies where as what's his name there put it, was too faggy. What did he say? What did Nixon say about it? Nixon was like, "Whoa, this shit is like crazy." And that's why we're here to put the owl back in context as wise and discerning owl, not some satanic, weird, creepy stuff. So now, unfortunately, we're going to talk about secret society of all variety. Yeah, secret society of all variety. The variety of secret societies. We are going to talk about David Wilcock, and I have been aware of David for quite a long time, as sure most of you have. I've watched some of his earlier stuff, and I'm going to add this. I'm going to read what his family said and the official stuff. I have the audio of the police scanning report. I think it's still on here. Yeah, it is. I still have it. But I will say that I've noticed a change in David's behavior from, say, 10 years ago to now. And the official statement about David Wilcock is that he is the one who called 911 and that they arrived at the scene. They reported that he had fired a warning shot and then fired a shot that ultimately took his life. And his family are saying he had financial issues and mental health issues. That is the official thing, that he had a lot of financial and mental health issues. And I can kind of relate to that. And a lot of people are, his fans are making statements like he was, saying don't do suicide. He was always positive. But there was a change in David Wilcock from like 2015, 2016 to now. His behavior was a lot different. If you might remember, his big fame to claim was that he was a reincarnation of Edgar Casey. And then he was in secret space program, did a lot about aliens. He was, getting into a lot of the Bible. And we'll look at a couple of those clips. But we're going to go right now and look at a clip, we'll look at a couple of clips. We'll look at a major clip from his last stream. And we'll just go through the police, the official police call and the 911 call, and then go through some of the things that people are uncomfortable with. Because it is common that when someone is suicidal, that they will be on top of the world and you won't know it just before they do it. I had a friend who, the day before he committed suicide, he was out taking everyone for drinks and all happy and acting like nothing was wrong. However, I had noticed in the months leading up that there was something wrong. But the immediate day before, it was almost like he was on top of the world because he knew his pain was going to end soon, but he never told anyone. So it does happen, but there's people, we're still going to discuss the uncomfortable things about it. And also this idea out there and these reportings out there that scientists, NASA scientists, nuclear scientists are either going missing or having very strange suicidal incidences that aren't really suicide, that people are linking this up to. So we'll get into that direction, but let's go check out David's stream before, 2 days before. It's just a little clip, 2 days before David passed away.
Imagine going through a process that extreme because of your love for humanity, because you love the planet, you love planet Earth. But what if he was doing it not just for planet Earth, but for other planets as well? That is actually implied in the book of John, chapter 10. So this is something I wanted to put out there for Representative Burchett and others, because this is very fascinating. I stumbled over it. I just so happened to find this. So here we go. John.
So in this last episode, he was doing a lot of biblical stuff. And I have another biblical quote where he talks about the New World Order. He always talked about Q and people in charge. He did stuff like that. We'll go there, but this is very biblical, which is kind of interesting that he's talking about this. This is, I think, what makes people suspicious, that maybe he was linked into something bigger. A lot of those TV networks are run by CIA. A lot of those TV networks have, these people are infiltrated. He's been on Ancient Aliens. So we don't know what secret connections he may or may not have had. So let's keep listening.
Chapter 10, verse 10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And this sounds a lot like our lovely friends in the DS. I have come that they may have life and live it and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd will lay down his life for the sheep. He will protect his sheep from the wolf. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and he runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. And this, again, is a really nice depiction of, the DS and the wolf. They say that they are the sheep, we are the wolves. It's very apropos.
When he says DS, I'm assuming he means deep state.
DS type of stuff. The man runs away, says Jesus, because he is a hired hand and he cares nothing for the sheep. And we've all seen examples of that, like the politician holding the baby up as a bullet shield, you know. Well, it can feel that way. It can feel like nobody really cares about us. It can feel like we're all alone. But Jesus actually says, no, I do not abandon the sheep. I died for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Amen. That is such a great gift. The Christ sacrifice, the crucifixion. We're still near Easter, so it's appropriate. Oh my God! Jesus says in John 10:16, remember that line, John 10:16, you want to go toe-to-toe with a Bible thumper who says there's no such thing as extraterrestrials? You say, John 10:16. Got it.
So he's going to say that there's aliens and stuff in the Bible. I'm sure there is some strange stuff in the Bible. I certainly believe that UAP and all these missing people, that's all linked to the military and NASA. It's not real. I think we'll get to that later. Let's keep listening to David.
John 10:16. Let's go back to the slide. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. Whoa, 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 whoa. Mind is officially blown.
No pun intended.
I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen.
Okay. So that is just this excerpt from it. And to me, this is a very different David. I always go to call him, I almost called him David Egg, but this is a very different David Wilcock than 10 years ago. So officially, let me see if I can bring up his, let me see if I can bring up the article here from his family. His family speaks. This is from People magazine. Now we got to remember, mainstream media is gonna give you the spin. They're not going to include. They're just not going to include what really happened underneath. They're going to give you this base spin. But this is his family of paranormal. They call him paranormal YouTuber. Speaks out. So let's go and see the statement shared that Wilcock grew up in Schenectady, New York, where he had an imaginative inner life and a deep curiosity about telepathy, lucid dreaming, the occult, palmistry, and predictions of Nostradamus. Wilcock attended the State University of New York at New Paltz, where he received a bachelor's degree in psychology. As an adult, he cultivated a community around several tenets that were important to him, that included the importance of focusing on one's energies, on service to others, and the divinity of all human life. The family statement also acknowledged the controversy surrounding many of Wilcock's claims, which were often not supported by scientific community. It goes on to say, in remembering David, it is important to hold more than one truth at once, that some of his work raised concerns about misinformation, and that he was also a person who was in an eternal quest for clarity. Beyond his public persona, he was a human navigating the same complexities and vulnerabilities that shape all our lives. The family continued. His passing is a reminder of how important it is to meet one another with open minds and compassion in our hearts. The loss of a life can turn our focus to our shared humanity, whether we agree on life's unanswered questions or not. And like I said, according to his family, he had a lot of stress, was having financial issues and a lot of mental health issues. So, but my husband said something really interesting, because we were watching a clip, and I'll show you this clip on things that he was talking about, is that if you are in this community, if you're in on these networks, maybe he was in with some agent and getting information fed to him, sometimes these agents can drive you crazy. Sometimes they can purposely drive someone nuts to the point that they will. Remember, they have all sorts of technologies. They have the voice of God. They can put thoughts in your head. If you're not careful, they can make you think things and possibly even remotely control your body and make you do things. They are developing the craziest of crazy technologies. So we can't, I'm not saying that's what happened to him, but we have to remember that's a possibility, because I don't know all of David Wilcock's connections. And I'm sure somebody will investigate that at the level that needs be. It's not going to be me right now, but I think we need to keep that in mind about David. Yeah, I think his mental health looked bad, but was it, is he being fed information? Because he used to claim he had a connection with Q, which tells me maybe there was a CIA asset agent that was talking to him, because I always suspected Q of being some kind of psyop thing anyways. And so it's important to keep that in mind. Now, we've got another video here that we're going to talk about with him that shows him really talking about New World Order stuff. It gets a little more deep into this one. Video. Where is he here? This is a couple minutes long, but this gives you this insight.
These people honestly believe that they are the descendants of gods.
He's talking about the synagogue of Satan here. So he's touching something that's like, potentially dangerous. We know that.
That they are the chosen, that they are God's special people, that we are delusional, and that the true creator is this wisdom principle that they think of as Lucifer, that wisdom principle gave us ancient mystery school teachings, and that the enemy, which they call Adonai, the adversary, which we would call the Christian God, came to try to defeat them. Then they even take it a step further and they look at texts like the Bible and they say that where it says in the end times that God will take the money from the wicked and restore it to the just, that we as a planet are the wicked and they are the just. So this is how they justify their financial corruption. They don't believe that we deserve the money. In fact, they believe that if they did not dominate us and if they did not control us and play all these games, that we left to our own devices would destroy our planet. So in some twisted rationale, they believe they are saving the earth. They believe humans are bad for the environment. We cause pollution, so they have to reduce population. Then they seed that into movies like The Matrix, where Agent Smith says that that humans are like a virus on the planet. This is one of a variety of ways in which they will usually embed their teachings into the villain.
So he's touching on some major themes there of what's going on. And I mean, we'll hear stuff like this with Malachi Martin when we go into the second half. He's touching on some major themes that we discuss in the show that many people are discussing. And the irony of it is they're so brazenly the ones that are destroying the planet and luring us into their system, just like Trump's trying to lure people back into their wars. The caustic contamination that all of these data centers, these wars, these bombs spraying has caused, it is out of this world, and it's their technologies. We're just pulled into these technologies, right? We're just pulled in to use them, and somehow we have to kind of like pray to Jesus to get out of them. I don't know. But you can see he was touching on some things. I'm not entirely sure. I think that was a few years old. That's not brand new. That's a few years old, but he's touching on some elements. So we said DAJC says, I think that they hit David with voice-to-skull technology. Many targeted individuals long before David were getting hit with varieties of their directed energy weapons it directs thoughts into your head, and it's a thing. 100% they have this technology, and they can lie about that all they want, but they have that kind of technology. And the question is, maybe David's mental health was unraveling and his finances weren't good because he's speaking out in the way they don't want to, but perhaps this is happening. Perhaps his mental health is going bad because he's actually a targeted individual, like some people are saying. This is a possibility. Big time. We have some of the people. Let's see. This is actually one of his last tweets, I think. Let's look at this. He said, "Dear family, I slept miraculously well last night and decided to go live today. This is just before his last live. Why in the world did POTUS post that Christ-like picture? Has he lost his mind? Are we going to be okay? Is he the Antichrist? How does this affect the war and disclosure? And it show more, but that was some of the stuff he was talking about. Criticizing. Which one is this? That one we'll get to in a second. There's some other ones. This was a note here in the messages under his video. I'm a personal friend of David who just learned of his passing. I was at his wedding and have known him for 17 years. David's stance on the karmic implications of suicide would have prevented him from taking his own life. He believed the price of doing so would be enormous, and he believed in his mission in this incarnation, no matter the cost. I do not believe the official story at all. And then we have, this was from an article that I believe it was from the one I have from Bollywood Shadis and UFO Research. It says his sudden passing is not sitting right with his followers and others who followed his work. Even though officials have confirmed that he shot himself, his death, which has happened amid scrutiny over 11 dead and missing scientists, has sent alarm bells ringing. Just hours before he shot himself, he said during a live stream on YouTube, that one I just showed you a clip from, that he was against people taking their own lives. You don't get to resurrect. If you lay down your life, you're done. So please don't do that. Please don't be stupid. It's something you never want to have to go through. And again, natural is the only way to go. I'm going to play you guys that clip of what he said. It's just
These
a quick
people,
27-second clip, and then we'll go into some more of the commentary online of people who are very concerned. And this one's really quick. This is him telling people no suicide.
Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary. I got to say, it's a little bit scary, but you guys knew that I might still show up even though it was last minute and I've had a really rough week. That's kind of like every.
Okay, so that's him talking about the scientists, and then he goes on to tell people, don't do it, don't kill yourself. But he's actually expressing kind of concerned about all these scientists going missing. And then now we're going to listen to this lady who was just on Jimmy Dore, and she's expressed concern. And she's investigating a lot of these scientists going missing, and she's not even related, doesn't know David Wilcock a lot, but she's expressing concern about his death.
Does a pattern stop simply being a coincidence? And there might even be another one. I don't know if you've heard about this, but David Wilcock, famous UFO researcher who is on History Channel, and he's New York Times bestselling author, very involved with UFO research, supposedly committed suicide out front of his house in front of law enforcement near Boulder, Colorado, just a few days ago on 4/20. He was only 53. And he also had made videos that said, I'm not going to commit suicide. So, it's very interesting, don't you think? I mean, there's always been this dark cloud over NASA with everything that they do. I'm 71. And I've been around to see all the inconsistencies of how they operate versus what they report to the public.
This is absolutely nuts. What do you know about Artemis 2?
Well, let me bring up something interesting about Artemis 2 and all the other rocket launches happening. Rocket launches, when they go up, release so much debris. The fuel they're burning, it's releasing polymers and other pollutants into the atmosphere, of course, which we all share and inhale. And that's just a small part of it. There's a ton of other ways that we're being exposed to the same type of chemicals and pollutants. And it's not just these launches, but also all the pollution that's being caused by the war in Iran. Every time a missile goes off, Jimmy, or a bomb explodes, microplastic particles are released in the upper atmosphere and they spread globally.
All right. So that's just reiterating the fact that they're the ones who create the horrible world in which to live in. It's not really us, it's them. Now we're going to listen to one last clip of David. It's the 911 call. You don't actually hear David, but apparently David's the one who made the call. And this is their response to it. Let's see if I can find that clip. It's a couple minutes long, so just bear with me here.
Fire ambulance responded stage in the area for possibly suicidal party. 1047.
640-528. Party said sorry and then disconnected.
So they just detailed that he called the police, David Wilcock. He said, I'm sorry, guys, and disconnected. And you'll go on to hear the rest of it.
Copy and word on the house. And just information, data found no criminal.
Hold all traffic, hold the traffic, he's got a gun.
Copy, there's code 3 on county law at 1104.
Let's get a little pause here.
Shots fired.
Shot fired.
Copy, shots fired, and all other traffic can go law 2. All other traffic law 2, code 3 continues.
0, I'm grabbing a rifle. He still got the gun to his head. Looks like he fired a test round.
Copy, gun to his head, fired a test round at 1105.
5624 AMR 3, just information. The party did fire a test round at this time.
Let me get a couple more units with a shield. Male looks like he shot himself in the head, but I'm still concerned about this house.
Copy.
Have a shield in him now.
Copy, 587 has a shield. Party possibly did shoot himself in the head.
I'm breaking in now. For the next 2 units, respond emergency. We're going to form a contact team, move on up to the subject, secure the gun, check vitals, break.
Go ahead.
We'll also need to hold off on the house.
Okay. So that's the call, the dispatch call that we have. And it's very erratic. Now, there is part of the video, if you go and watch his last video, there's part where he kind of looks like I said, there's definitely a difference between David Wilcock today and 10 years ago. How was that? Was it from his research? Was it financial? Are we dealing with the voice of God kind of thing from CIA? Look, I know that there has been, actually one of them's my friend, I'm not particularly fond of him, on Facebook. There are history of FBI agents driving people insane who are doing this kind of research and making them think something's happening that's not, and driving them crazy. I mean, these people are ruthless, they're relentless, they don't care. It's whatever to hide their secrets, right? Genocide says, I find it interesting that David Wilcock was way into the law of one. And one of the guys behind it also alived himself, Don or something. So the guy behind the law of one unalived himself. I think we're going to go over and look at a clip because some of these scientists are going missing. David was obviously aware of it. He was concerned. He thought it was scary. They were investigating it. It made him nervous. Did it drive him crazy? Was there other things? We may never know what was going on in David's mind before he tragically passed away. But I believe, do I have that on Facebook? I think it's YouTube. I think I saved a video on YouTube where one of these scientist girl that was either murdered or had gone missing recorded something before. Let's go check it out. No, we don't want that. Is it this one? Yeah, let's go here under my playlists. I'm pretty sure I have it here. Research. Let's go down to the bottom. I got to clear this list out. Maybe it wasn't on here. Let's type it in. Scientist disappearing. Let's see what we can find.
Have you heard that vaginal estrogen is only for...
Oh, great. We're getting a vaginal estrogen ad. That's not what we want. We don't want your ads. Let's see. Yeah, it's this girl right here, Amy Eskridge, predicted her own death. So this is, remember, this is New York Post, and they are an arm of Mossad. Just so you guys know.
Newly revealed messages have drawn even more suspicion about the resurfaced death of one of 11 scientists with ties to American space and nuclear secrets who have
Let's go forward here. Amy Eskridge
gunshot in June of 2022 when she was just 34 years old, according to the Daily Mail. However, Frank Milburn, a retired British paratrooper and intelligence officer who says he was in contact with Eskridge before her death, shared shocking messages with the outlet. One dated May 13th, 2022 read, "If you see any report that I killed..."
So here's what she reported just before her death. She said, "Oh, by the way, if you see any report that I killed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I overdosed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I killed anyone else, I most definitely did not. Just like Bishop most definitely did not kill Maria and Gopi and Adriel. Just like McLandish sure as F did not blow his own head off with a shotgun. The dominoes are being lined up all over again." So she's outlining that. I want to go see, because there was actual video clip with her on it. It might be better to get it on TikTok. And that actually might be where I had it stored. And I just forgot. Let's go. Missing scientist. Amy. What was her name again? Eskridge. There it is. She's obviously important. Here, let's check this out.
It's been independently discovered 4 other times. He said it has been suppressed every single time. And he said, I don't think they're going to suppress it this time. He said, I think you're in the clear. He said they obviously know about you because I've had multiple, both protective and threatening interactions with various agency affiliations, whatever. He was like, if you haven't had a U.S. government agent come to you and say, stop, shut the up, stop, shut the up. If that hasn't happened, they're going to let you do it. They're waiting. There are SSP mothers twiddling their thumbs. Like, is Amy not going to publish soon? Gah, we've been influencing this forever. Doesn't she know we want her to publish? Jesus. Like, there's multiple people doing that right now. And on the other side of the fence, there's multiple parties looking at each other like, didn't we tell this 3 years ago that we can't vote for this? Is she not listening? What is she doing? She's still doing it? What? We told her we were going to kill her.
So what I'm understanding her saying is there's different people. There's people who want her to put it out there. And then there's people who want to basically, if you do it, get rid. So apparently Dark Journalist was covering Amy while she was still alive. And she's doing anti-gravity technology. So it's like you're damned if you they literally put you in a place where you would go crazy. Is this a same scenario for David Wilcock? Because he seemed concerned about this. And he seemed happy that there was going to be investigations, as if Trump would be able to do anything about it. He did seem concerned, and I just find all this timing. There's a whole bunch of other scientists being reported missing. It's not just her. There's like 13, maybe even more, that have mysterious deaths, or they just go missing. Like no wallet, no watch, no purse, no car keys, nothing, gone. Too many to be a coincidence. So a lot of people are linking this up with David Wilcock and all of the stuff that he's going through. So that was Amy Eskridge. And she, yeah, she's now no longer with us, unfortunately. They're killing all the people with the anti-gravity tech. I wonder what's up with that. And you know what? This isn't the first time. Apparently, the guy, he did research, Bart, his name is, about the moon landings. Apparently, at the time of the moon landings, a lot of people who worked on this got whacked. They got rid of everything. They torched all of this. Like, none of the stuff for the moon landing exists. And a lot of these people who worked on it, scientists, several of them, they're like, oh, they blew up in their office. This happened, that happened. They get whacked. So anyone who's looking into being a scientist, it is not worth working for NASA. It is not worth helping these people on their twisted journey, because you're kind of damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. We got some other stuff on David Wilcock. Back to David. Rochelle Von Kay. David Wilcock and I were in communication all week until this Sunday, and despite his constant life stresses, he was in good spirits and excited about the future. He died on my brother's birthday and was my best friend. I can't believe this has happened again within the same year. He was the biggest reason I was able to relocate to the US. He built my first ever mini chocolate factory in Malibu and was my dishwasher and chocolate taster. He was my superfood geek hiking buddy. He was Maya's dad. He helped me put music videos together and supported me in every way he could. He was misunderstood, and yet he was the kindest friend. We had so many adventures around the world and then lived together for a big chunk of time. There's so much I could say right now, but I really just wanted to share his laughter as a final goodbye. I can't believe this is a real. Pinch me. We were just on the phone Sunday, and today when I called him to clear up more crazy rumors and make sure he's okay, his phone rang out for the first time ever. We said that one. Sharon Delarose says, David Wilcock is dead. The ancient aliens, David Wilcock. It does appear that he committed suicide, as far as I've been able to determine, in front of witnesses. He was just 53 years old. Wow, my mind is still reeling, supposedly, and I've not been able to verify this part. His co-author, Winfrey, died just a couple of days earlier. No other info, and I don't know if it's true. But I'm watching David's last podcast right now because it's so hard to believe what's being said about him. And during that podcast, he got the info live that Winfrey was dead. Scary, freaky, just wow. Update. After watching David's last video, this is even more mysterious and disturbing. Though he spoke at length about his many difficulties, and it did sound as if he was deeply underwater, he also talked about how we should never commit suicide. He said, please don't do that. Please don't be stupid. Natural is the only way to go. These were some of his last words before his own death. Read through my comments on this post for links to what other prominent people are saying, including David's best friend and also Michael Sella, who pointed out how this could have been orchestrated. So very mysterious stuff. And the fact that we're questioning this shows that we don't trust what the officials say. That yes, he might have done it in front of those police and they might have witnessed this, but we don't know what went on behind that. Who David Wilcock was in contact with over his career, who didn't like what he was saying, and he spoke out against the synagogue of Satan. He was doing a lot of biblical stuff in his last verses. Like, we don't know all of the connections. And my husband thought that Hunter S. Thompson was killed in the same area, but I think it was a different area of Colorado, I know, a little bit farther away. But went on a big crazy drug fuel and killed himself. He was probably in with the CIA. Stuff like that. Just too many bizarre connections to say, oh yeah, that's it. So if he did it, was it really David? Was he in his own mind, or was someone influencing him? Or did someone intimidating so bad that he just couldn't take it anymore and he lost it? I mean, I know people get upset about finances, but you can always get rid of your house and downsize. There's always solutions to finances. So it can't just be finances. There's got to be something else at play here. because there's always financial solutions. You can declare bankruptcy, you can consolidate, you can sell everything and move into a smaller place. Like, there's always, I know some people's egos collapse when they have to do that, but it appears to me that something else is going on in David's mind, that something else was troubling him beyond the finances. And he says some things, but it's kind of coded. He doesn't say it outright. Hey, people are threatening me. Hey, I in trouble. He doesn't actually communicate it outright, almost like as if he doesn't think he can.
Ambulance fire, our ambulance responded.
The video here, I don't think I have another one to play of him. I think we've gotten all that covered. Yeah, we've gotten all that stuff covered. Replace. But don't you guys remember when he was talking about Q all the time? He talked about QAnon and being in contact, and everybody just thought he was kind of stringing along and it was just a hoax. And he was involved with Corey Goode, who secret space program. He was trying to sue people for using the word. He wanted to copyright it and all this stuff. And that guy is a narcissist. He kind of got out of that. And once I was on the podcast, Where Did the Road Go? And we were talking about this. David Wilcock actually claimed that there were Satanists within the Gaia network. He says there were satanic people operating within Gaia. Very, very interesting stuff. And I distinctly remember him saying this. I distinctly remember reading that article when I was on Where Did the Road Go? On a roundtable on the podcast years and years ago. And I was like, wow, did he just say there were Satanists within Gaia? Which wouldn't surprise me at all. So was he paranoid, or was he actually seeing people? And is it like some kind of, like devil's advocate where everybody just drives the sensitive guy crazy? I mean, super possible. Super possible. People talked about Q drops a lot. I remember that. Well, he definitely talked about Q. So whether Q was real or he was in contact with somebody who he was an agent, I have no idea, but he definitely talked about it. I always assumed Q was some kind of CIA thing. Okay, so this article says, popular UFO researcher Wilcock dies, adding to long list of researchers who have died. They're connecting it to all these people who are dying. Now, David Wilcock wasn't a scientist. He wasn't a nuclear physicist. He wasn't doing anti-gravity technology. But apparently he made the call at 10:44 a.m. local time. He was experiencing mental health crisis, and then he killed himself in front of deputies. Authorities said he was alone and no one else was anywhere near the house. That doesn't mean anything. Let's see what they have to say. His sudden passing is not sitting right with his followers and others who followed his work, even though officials have confirmed that he shot himself. You don't get to, it's about him saying you don't get to resurrect, don't commit suicide. Wilcock said, actually, in a post in 2022, I plan on living. I'm not suicide. If I suicide. So he was talking about stuff like this years before. I did not commit suicide. Burchett claims U.S. government is hiding UFO and alien secrets. I don't know I don't trust half of these representatives. But reacting to Wilcock's death, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett said, not cool. Burchett had earlier flagged retired General William McNeill McCaslin's disappearance, literally a general has disappeared, as a major national security issue. McCaslin is believed to have ties with secret UFO programs at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio and also knew about nuclear secrets. Talking to the Daily Mail, Burchett said there's no chance that this is all just coincidental. It's too much going on. We need to start paying attention to it. So, I mean, is this a distraction? Are they using David to lure people into a different angle? I don't know. I know Israeli or IDF are offing tons of scientists all over in Iran and everything. They're whacking scientists left, right, and center. I don't have a lot of faith in the intelligence community, the congressman said. Burchett is one of several officials who are sure that the U.S. government is hiding secrets about extraterrestrial life. I don't know, maybe they're going to try to do a fake UFO thing going on. Burchett claims that McCaslin was a key figure in the U.S. military's secret UFO program. McCaslin went missing from his home in Albuquerque on February 27th. He did not take his phone and was last seen near Quail Run Court Northeast in Albuquerque. The congressman says he knew about the recovered UFO spacecraft from the 1947 Roswell UFO crash that is allegedly at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Earlier, journalist Ross Coulthart said McCassin was working on a classified space weapons program. Wilcox called the disappearances scary. I showed you that clip earlier. He also raised the matter on his final YouTube broadcast. He said, "Every day that I have left on Earth is a blessing, and I'm very grateful because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing now," he said. The author said it is a little bit scary, and they're going to investigate this. Here's a list of scientists and researchers who have gone missing this year. We had the William Neal McCaslin, Monica Jacinto Reza. She was a senior aerospace engineer. Melissa Cassius, administration professional at Los Alamos National Laboratory. She went missing last year, June in 2025. Anthony Chavez, retired employee at Los Alamos National Laboratory, same one. He went missing last year. Government contractor at Kansas City National Security Campus, Stephen Garcia, went missing in 2025. The ones who have died, we have physicist Nuno Lorio has died. Jason Thomas, assistant director of chemical biology, was found. Whose remains were found. Frank Malwad, principal researcher at NASA, who died, cause unknown, in 2024. Michael David Hicks, veteran physicist at NASA, who passed away on June 2023, cause unknown. Amy Eskridge, they're saying reportedly died of suicide in 2022. So that's just some of the people that are going missing. Boom, gone. And we know NASA has reportedly done stuff like this before, especially with the moon landings. Post-moon landing stuff, they offed a bunch of people. Don't leave the ink. Let me go up here. Q is a psyop to keep a revolution from happening. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know that. David never struck me as an Israel DC tool. No, I'm like that video I just showed you. He blatantly speaks out against the synagogue of Satan. So that wouldn't land him in good hands. Why? The question is why? Why would they go after David Wilcock? What did he know? If that is the case, now on the one hand, it could be that he was suicidal with mental health problems and financial issues, and that's it. But it looks to me like, I don't know, I just feel like there's something else bothering him beyond that. And he makes some cryptic and some outright statements there. There's something else besides money, because money issues can be dealt with. Money issues can be dealt with unless you're just way out of it and you're too caught up in your ego with all this stuff. But money issues can be dealt with. It just feels to me that there's something else underneath there. And maybe in the future, we will find out exactly what happened. There'll be more people researching. But a lot of people are linking David to these other scientists that have died, even though he was just a researcher. I don't even think that Dorothy says it's just anyone who wants to wake up the masses. And I don't even know if it's about waking up the masses as much as the information that they have, like solid nuclear scientific information that they have or developments that they have. No, wait, Joshua LeBlanc in that damn Tesla says, oh yes, that guy, he's just recently burned up in his Tesla. Don't get a Tesla. There's people like they're driving along and it's the thing. They can get rid of anybody anywhere. Pew, 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 pew. Oh, they don't like you? Just explode you in your Tesla. Shut you down. Put some kind of thing, the neurotransmitter in your head. Just shut it off and stop your heart. They have been developing this technology. And that guy who did the book about not landing on the moon, that they didn't do the moon landing, that's all fake. He said that they have this technology, and there's been people who said that a lot of agents, they stay because they have implanted stuff in their heart, like chemicals that will kill them. or they keep if they don't get the chemical patch changed, they'll die. So they just keep working like they're entrapped. It's like it's fucking nefarious and evil shit. Don't be a scientist. Don't get into this stuff. You're not going to do good things for humanity. Not if you join these organizations. You are doing the devil's work, and you will be a slave like no one can even imagine, really. And it's so tragic about David. I don't have all the answers. On the one hand, yes, that could be true. He could be in mental health, but something tells me people are suspicious. His followers are suspicious. Yes, I see a mental health degradation, but for what reason? What was really bothering him? Because a lot of people are connecting him to these scientists, and it was obvious that these scientists' deaths were troubling him. And then suddenly he goes out after saying no suicide and just calls for a mental health thing and loses it. Very strange. Incognito says the Q psyop was a particular psyop that had a name and he just can't remember it. Let me see if I can type it in. Let me see if I'll find it. We'll tell you QAnon psyop. So it says believers hold that a cabal of satanic cannibalistic elites operate a global ring. Well, that's turned out to be true, except for they thought it was opposed by Donald Trump. Ha, suckers. Cryptic posts are known as breadcrumbs. Yeah, more like dangling a carrot. The theory began in 2017, grown out of pizza. All this stuff is like true. Like everything's true. But my guess is a lot of these agents, they'll drive them crazy. They'll drive someone like David Wilcock crazy and insane with paranoia till that they either do that or they're either controlling them. I know that they definitely have this technology, which is why I feel like doing like a big Faraday cage on my head all the time. One painter for hire. I didn't get the notification. This has to be on purpose. YouTube is a real piece of work. 5 p.m. It's all I can tell you. You can click the bell. You know, they may not care about me. I don't know, but I appreciate you for showing up for One Painting for Hire. You can always go rewatch it. So I have really big condolences for David Wilcock, even though I had some issues with some of his earlier research, and I thought that, saying he was a reincarnation was weird, but maybe he really believed it. But it's sad. It's really suspicious. And of course, if I find anything else out, we'll follow up on this. But people are suspicious. They don't trust us at all. You can just go on his last videos and see his followers saying, I don't buy it. Just like we don't buy Donald Trump's little assassination attempt story anymore. Everything is just so fucking fake in this world. No, and that's the thing. They don't, in communist Russia, Stalin and them weren't lying at every point to hide something. Part of the point of lying all the time and manipulation is to demoralize people and make them think it's futile to do anything. It's to confuse them and make them just depressed and think that there's nothing. Yeah, that there's nothing they can do, so that it's a demoralizing situation. And that's one of the biggest reasons. It's a mind control demoralization. That's why they keep lying. It keeps us confused, it keeps us messed up, and then we feel like we can't do anything about it. But you can. You have to pull your mind away from the whole system. And that is difficult right now. So we are going to go on a little mini break. I've got to reload my clips for Malachi Martin. So 5-6 minutes or so, I will be back. Oh, I didn't even choose the music I was going to play, but I will be back. We're going to talk about Malachi Martin because he kind of ties into a lot of this New World Order stuff, and he's got an interesting history and connections to people, and we'll go over that. And don't forget, while we're here, guys, thumbs up. I'm going to choose some music. What are we going to do? Let's just do ambient again. That's the best music to have. We'll do ambient. All right, we are back. Let me know if you can hear me. I have to do some tricky stuff because they give me limited storage, so I have to go reload. I reload stuff on my phone, and then once it's loaded in the system, it won't show up unless I actually open a new screen. So I have to keep my old self in the screen, open a new screen with my new self, and then cancel out the old self. It feels like I'm traveling in time. It's very strange. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around for the second part of the show, which will go for hopefully about another hour, and then we'll clear it up. We are talking about Father Malachi Martin. Loud and clear. Good, good, good. Father Malachi Martin, for those of you, I mean, one of the most famous interviews with him is, of course, with Art Bell. He was a regular on Art Bell. He would appear on Art Bell's radio show, especially in the 90s. You'll find it like from 93 right to just before his death, where he would come on and talk about what was really going on in the Vatican and how the church was compromised in the New World Order. And we have some clips to listen to today about Malachi Martin and what he said. It wasn't an Art Bell show, though. I can't remember. Let me see who I got it from. I will tell you in a minute. It was a different interviewer, and he says some interesting things. We're going to go with, I'll find it in a second. It can't be that hard to find, right? I hope. Maybe it is that hard to find. I think it might. An interview on the Third Secrets of Fatima, July 13th, 1998. I think that's what he was talking about. There's also some live footage of him. Type in Malachi Martin, you'll get all sorts of stuff. We're just going to lightly cover him today. And Malachi Brendan Martin, he was also known under the pseudonym Michael Seraphin because he became a writer, was an Irish-born American traditionalist Catholic priest, a biblical archaeologist. I think that's kind of who they kind of were inspired for The Exorcist, the priest there. Well, Malachi Martin did that. He was an exorcist, a paleographer, a professor, and writer on the Catholic Church. He was ordained as a Jesuit. Martin became professor of paleography at the Pontifical Biblical Institute in Rome. From 1958, he served as secretary to Cardinal Augustin B. during preparations for the Second Vatican Council. So he understands very well what happened between the First Vatican, and he understands exactly what happened in the Second Vatican Council. He was disillusioned by the council. Martin asked to be released from certain aspects of his Jesuit vows in 1964 and moved to New York City. Martin's 17 novels and nonfiction books were frequently critical of the Catholic hierarchy, who he believed have failed to act on what he called the third prophecy, revealed by the Virgin Mary at Fatima. His works included The Scribal Character of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Hostage to the Devil, which dealt with possession, exorcism, The Final Conclave, 1978, was a warning against Soviet espionage in the Vatican. All right, so that's just the basics of Malachi Martin. For those of you who didn't know, he died in 1999. Someone's saying, yeah, he performed many exorcisms. Yeah, lots of exorcists experience. So we're gonna go into, oh shoot. Hold on, because I gotta open up a new scene. The thing that happens when I come into a new screen is I have to add the scene. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna do it this way, except for we will swap it out. There we go. And I always dislike it. I like to be on the left. There we go. So we'll do some video footages and we'll listen to the context of some of the things that he says. These clips go all over. I don't even know if I have them in order, but I don't think it matters because you'll get the gist of what Malachi Martin is saying about the Catholic Church and where it's going, and maybe that it's been infiltrated. And then we'll talk about some things about Malachi himself that people say are very strange. So someone says the Pope needs to send some exorcists to DC and start with Trump, Hegseth, Rubio, and Netanyahu. I wonder if there's enough holy water to even handle that. Maybe we should like douse those data centers in holy water. I don't know. What do you think? Crazy stuff. Okay, so Malachi Martin did the book called The Windswept House, which really talks about the corruption in the Vatican. So we're going to start there. Let's hear what he has to say.
They said, "I'm sorry, Bishop, we like you, we respect you, but we don't believe these things any longer." The whole faculty resigned in Melbourne.
So this situation then also explains why unity in the church has broken down.
Yes, why there is no unity.
So there's no meeting of the minds, let's say, between the believers and the apostates.
None whatever. And it also is responsible for the rise of what we now know as the underground church. That is an extensive network of bishops, priests, religious, nuns, schools, Blessed Sacrament chapels, confessions, and rider priests throughout America and Canada and Latin America and in Europe. There is an underground church which is flourishing. It's minor, it's small, but it's flourishing, and more people are being attracted to it because they're leaving the conciliarist church.
So Malachi is talking about a network of underground churches that are forming in America, Europe, Canada, that are more traditionalists, that want to do pre-Vatican II, that are ignoring these heresies that the church are doing. And you may not agree with the traditionalists, but it's that you have to be married, have children, no homosexuality sanctioned in marriage, and there's a bunch of other ones. There's also this element of the supernatural that has been taken out of Catholicism. Like they're basically saying there's no devil, there's no angels, you just get to go to this happy heaven place. The whole dynamics that are in the Catholic Church have been stripped away with Vatican II. And there's people who are like, no, bro, this ain't working for me. They're going underground. And Malachi keeps talking about this.
I call the conciliarist church. That is, they follow absolutely rigidly what is said about Vatican II, the Second Vatican Council. And they're in apostasy. They don't know it. You know, Bernard, the big pity is this. There's no doubt about it. We have 66 million Catholics, I think, in these United States, if they were to tell the truth about the numbers. And
that's interesting that it's 66 million Catholics in the U.S. Interesting number. That was in the 90s. It's probably lower now. Although there's a revival, people are joining the Catholic Church. So let's continue to listen to what he said.
The majority are being led by the nose out of the true faith, and they don't know it because they're obedient. And the priest says it's okay to be homosexual, it's all right to divorce and be remarried and come to the sacraments. If the priest says that, well, it's all right, you won't go to hell, God doesn't send anybody to hell, it doesn't really exist. And the devil, that's a myth. And the priest says that, the bishop says that, people say, well...
And so when you're somebody like Malachi Martin, who's done exorcism after exorcism, I think you start to believe the fact that there might be a devil, that there might be something evil. You can go look up Father Dan Rehill on YouTube, Father Rippinger. They're telling you there's a devil and there's a hierarchy, and they're telling you traditional Catholic stuff that Vatican II is like, nah. Let's just throw that away. That's just superstitious. We want to merge you into the modern world, into this sort of AI god. That's my guess. So let's finish off Malachi Martin. We got about 5 clips to go through today. It's easier for me to let you hear his voice because I'm not a theologian. It's hard for me to have the same poetic verse, and I think you can understand it better when these priests say it.
Hey, come on. What are we to believe?
So the apostates, they would not see any reality outside of what you could see and hear and touch and feel. They would deny the existence, or they wouldn't include in their worldview the eternal and the supernatural.
Oh no, that's gone. The devils, the angels, the saints. There is something after death called heaven. It's a pleasant place. Everybody goes to it. There's the general idea, and God.
It's like going for a spa weekend. You just get to go to heaven. There's no, I don't know. Any of you guys in the audience, do you think there's evil and possession and demons? I mean, you can let me know, because it sure as heck feels like it on this planet. It sure feels like it sometimes.
God never sends anybody into a dark and murky hole called hell. No. Or purgatory, that's all mythological. That's the outlook. That's apostasy. And that's you see, Bernard, look, if you tell me you're a believer, and then I find that in practice you act as if none of it was true, and I question you and find out that you really don't believe in hell, you don't believe in angels, you don't believe in purgatory, that's what you really believe, no matter what you say by rote profession or saying I'm a Roman Catholic. You're not.
Right. So I know a lot of people out there, a lot of you will be like, yeah, but that's kind of fear mongering. And I understand that. But I think there is something to having people believe in some form that there's a consequence. There's a place, if you're doing horrible things, there's a place that your mind goes. And maybe it's in your mind, maybe not. I'm just looking for this other clip that I thought I had to upload now that I've got that one through. They only let me have 5 at a time, and I don't want to pay them more money. Because I figure, well, why pay them more money? Here it is. So he's basically telling you the stripped down version. DA says, spiritually, the only way mankind knows about Satan, the devil, and demoniacs is because God told us. Maybe, perhaps, but there is this idea that that our modern world tries to strip down, that there's not real evil. And I think that's that whole quote, right? Like, the best trick the devil ever did was to make people believe he didn't exist. That's the Vatican too. And this is this whole idea that this is some kind of weird infiltration. Now let's go back, because we're going to visit Malachi Martin again. I think we are. Are we? Well, I guess we'll find out. It's not. Let's do a video sharing here. Let's go to this one. Let's see if it will share it.
That if you can replace all the organs, including the brain.
Oh, this one is going to talk about this sort of transhumanist stuff. This is 30 years ago, and he's talking about this transhuman, replacing the organ, replacing the brain, using humans to sort of replace this stuff. It goes right into things we're actually deep into right now, and we find really terrifying. He starts talking about this transhumanistic people trying to live forever, harvesting organs. It's right here in Malachi Martin. Check it out.
That if you can replace all the organs, including the brain, but all the other organs, so eyes, chest, genitalia, lungs, pancreas, all the organs, you live forever. To do that, you need replacements. To get replacements, you need to harvest the organs. And therefore the biomedical aim of research today is to develop what they call, not humanoids, subhumans. Anencephalics, with no brain, but with perfectly good hearts, perfectly good cornea, perfectly good ears, perfectly good pancreas, perfectly good everything. And to
it's like they're going to be producing soulless beings. And I've already heard this as technology, that they want to grow babies without a brain, babies without a soul, so they can take them for their organs. Like, this is happening right now. He's talking about this. Was this in the Vatican? For whatever reason, he knows about this. Now, we'll get into his connections with certain characters later, because it's interesting that he just says, I'm not going to be a Jesuit anymore. I'm going to come to New York City. It's an interesting and unique thing, so it does stand out. So I think we do also need to be critical of him, but he's telling us the future.
Harvest them like you would. So to harvest them like donors.
So this would take, let's say, it would be the next stage past abortion.
That's right.
Because let's say a baby in the womb doesn't have, let's say, all what you might be able to need for this prolongation of life.
No, it's next stage, but accustoming people to the idea of killing the babies, of liquidating human beings who are too old, euthanasia.
You see this liquidating. They're using like business terms, corporation terms. That's how they view us. They view us as these items to liquidate, as products, and how useful are we? They view us in this really demonic, evil way. Let's liquidate the humans. Let's get rid of them. They're causing too much problems. Let's put AI on the planet. You've got to wonder if these elite people are possessed themselves, or are they even really human at some points.
And abortion at one end and the other end. Bring it down to the living. And for today, there's no doubt about it that if you have Parkinson's disease, you're treated with matter taken from fetuses. Living. They have to get the fetus alive to cut it out. Tuberculosis is the same thing. It's harvesting from a living baby. That's why they have living babies delivered. For that reason alone, they pay somebody to have a baby so they can harvest its organs.
What are we going through right now? Epstein files? They're harvesting babies. John of God harvesting babies. I think it's like a step up beyond abortion. So they're not just aborting the babies. They're letting them come to, be born, and then harvesting them. Crazy.
Cosmetic factories. The big cosmetic names that make your...
Remember, he's going to talk about cosmetic factories and stuff that they use these babies and baby parts and baby bodies and umbilical cords and stuff for. All these celebrities that want the spa treatments and all that stuff. Yeah. That's why when they warn, everyone's like, oh, you're just rigid. They're warning against abortions. They are against women's bodies. No, they warn this because this is where it leads. It's all connected. It's all connected. Because if you have an abortion, they're using the pieces of that body. So you just sacrifice the baby for that. You're going to have to figure out something else, some kind of precaution. Because it all leads, if you can abort a baby, well then that what's the big deal for growing it and then using it for its body parts? Like it's beyond Frankenstein. Beyond Frankenstein. Let's continue.
Powder and your creams that are used in cosmetics, they're all using fetal matter.
So really,
harvested from living baby. So this is, the point I'm making to you is this: anybody who supports abortion, anybody who has their tubes bound up, a woman, or has this vasectomy performed, anybody joining that stream of development is moving humanity closer and closer to this development of the subhuman, because they're going to have that, whether we like it or not, and harvest it for organs, so that your eyes will never give out, and your heart will never give out, and your genitals will never give out, and your pancreas will never give out, and your kidneys will never give out. We can replace everything. Liver, kidneys, everything.
30 years ago. And he's probably known about this for a lot longer than that. 30 years ago, this man was talking about this. 1996 to 1998, just before he died.
Deliver everything. All your veins, we can replace the veins. We have beautiful veins in these people because they're only subhumans. They're not human.
So part of the purpose then, part of the Luciferian agenda is to reshape the church so that it's no longer a barrier to this new morality.
It's just a willing nourisher of the new world order, of this.
So they want to reshape the church so the church isn't a barrier, that it actually nourishes the new world order.
Order of privileged human beings who can develop their happiness, paradise on earth longer and longer and longer. The church at the present moment is the big obstacle. It's against abortion, against contraception. It should preach that there's only one aim in life, that's to get to heaven. They said, forget it. This is
Okay, so incognito sins, you mean the parasite class, not elites. They are most certainly the parasite class, and they have an illusion that it's us who's the problem and they're not causing any problems, and they just need to get rid of us and all their problems will be solved. Yeah, okay, psychotic, psychopath, children eating, baby eating lunatics. So, as you can see, it is important to knock out the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church had strong boundaries on this. Just like in Canada, there were strong ethical boundaries against suicide, euthanasia, and they knocked that out, and now they're bringing it in, and they're using it, and they're weaponizing it. This is what, when people say the slippery slope, they're serious. It's a slippery slope to hell. And so I'm not trying to tell you what to do, and I'm not trying to tell you against prevention, but these things are happening. And if you can turn everything into just a lab experiment, then you take your humanism away and nobody cares. You're just a body part. They might even convince your family members to knock you off because you're just a body part. I forgot which one was that, 322. I just don't want to replace it with the same video because we're going to go over this again. Let's go over this one because I think this one is a continuation.
Now, what I'd like to do is take a look at some of the influence that, let's say, these Luciferians inside the church have had, maybe only indirectly. How have they been able to reshape church life, let's say, from the time of the Second Vatican Council till today?
Well, I'll tell you, look at what they have effected. They have made it so that they have successfully suppressed or transferred major feast days. There's only 3 or 4 feast days in the whole year when you must go to Mass, and even then they can transfer it to a Sunday, so that you're not bound to go any time at all. There's no, that's number one, prayer, just prayer.
Let's stop right here. I'd like to have a short discussion.
So they kind of try to reduce prayer because prayer is important. When you pray to Jesus or Mary and you're more positive, that connects you with God. Let's take prayer to school. People will be like, it's because you can't do religion, you can't do this. But I think there's this one reason that they give you why there's no prayer, because they don't want to force religion on you, and it's a multicultural society. You kind of understand that. But also they probably eventually don't want anyone praying to anything that doesn't get a pass by the New World Order. So if they can take prayer out, they can pull your mind towards where they want it instead of you praying to Mary or praying to Jesus or praying to God or a saint or whatever it is you want to pray to. So that's important to get that out of the way. First of all, you don't have to pray. Just show up for Mass and go home. Don't pray.
The new calendar, because I can see that as a very disruptive influence on your
calendar.
pious Catholics.
If you want to change a thing, change an order, change everything, you just shuffle the calendar around and you change it and you change time. How convenient.
To be shifting saints' days around, and I think even some were expunged from the calendar.
Completely. But you see that, therefore, and when they were asked, when they suppressed Saint Philomena, people wrote into Rome and said, do you mean to say she never existed? I said, no. We don't want the feast day.
But do these people, do they realize the pain and anguish that it causes, let's say, a good Catholic who's been praying to Saint Philomena all these years?
They don't care. They don't care.
So what we
literally don't care.
What we see here is a theme of the book coming out, and that's kind of the wickedness of it all.
That's right.
We're seeing a fulfillment then of the prophecy that charity would run cold in the end times.
That's right.
That they don't even care, let's say, about the laity who have these devotions. They wouldn't care about the career of. They wouldn't care about ruining the career of a priest.
Oh no, not at all. And then you see, you should be in receipt, and really, but you couldn't spend the time doing it, to receive the accounts that we received of, say, the Diocese of Louisville, Kentucky, what the bishop has done to the people, closing the churches, forbidding the devotions.
Apparently, Louisville, Kentucky was like, there was some satanic, crazy stuff going on in Louisville, Kentucky. Like some crazy, yeah, those are the Fatima kids, just in case you didn't know, that saw that the prophecy from the Virgin Mary about Fatima. And apparently Malachi Martin was privy to the third, oh, I can't remember the name. He talks about it. He talks about it with Art Bell. He was privy to some kind of revelation that nobody knows what it is anymore, and he would kind of suggest it, but he couldn't tell you exactly what it was. But yeah, these are the Fatima kids. Now, I'm going to go to the next video, and we've played that one now. This one's a little bit longer. Let's go here. Listen to Malachi.
Visible. There won't be any, and we must deal with that.
But something must have happened, like, that would have caused, let's say, since the 1960s, for this organization to seemingly start self-destructing.
Auto-demolition. Yeah, there was this consecration, this enthronement of Satan within the Vatican.
Okay, so we're going to get into the enthronement of Satan, Lucifer, within the Vatican. Louisville's opposite. Well, Louisville's probably, HorrorCon with Ava Ventris podcast group will be there. I'm sure it's great, but within the Catholic Church, there was some pretty dark, crazy shit going on. Yeah, okay, he said they didn't tell the whole prophecy. He was privy to some of it. He was privy to a lot of this Vatican II stuff, too. He heard a lot of it. So he is going to talk about how they inserted Lucifer into the Catholic Church, into the Vatican, right here.
Lucifer, by the way.
Now, did that actually happen?
Yes, it's a historical fact. It was done one particular day by a certain group of people representing Luciferians all over the world, especially American Luciferians. It was done. And therefore, in a certain sense, Lucifer has power. He doesn't own yet, but I'm sure he hopes to own some pope as his man. I'm sure he does. And he expects to own some pope, not the present pope, but some pope, so that the house is really his. And the only one who can expel him is the owner of the house, and that owner is the pope. And he must carry out the exorcism.
Now,
and the cleansing of the house.
Some people who have read Windswept House, after they read about this enthronement of Satan, said, now I understand why there is this crisis in the church.
That's right.
Because doesn't it have a spiritual cause?
It must have. It must have. And that's why I remember going to Rome there last year and speaking with a very, very well-known cardinal and saying to him, but Your Eminence, you have got to go to the Holy Father and explain this. He said, no, what can I do? I'm only a simple cardinal. And I said, well, if you don't do it, who's going to do it? He said, nobody. Nobody's going to do it. Nobody will tell the Holy Father the truth. And he's too busy and too worn down to do anything about this. And that's the situation. And until that is done.
So they're saying the Pope's too worn down. No one's telling him the truth. He's not going to do anything about it. A lot of American Satanists infiltrate the church. Remember when we had our show last Sunday, we talked about this with Todd Wood about a lot of these satanic ritual that happened in the Vatican, that also happened in South Carolina. Some weird stuff happening in Kentucky. That Sister Margaret Ann was murdered by that priest guy. Crazy things were happening, and a lot of it got infiltrated through American, probably Freemasons. There might be some bad Jesuits, but there's some bad people getting in here. And so the highest realm would be to control the Pope, and it is only the Pope that can get rid of it. The irony.
Done. By the way, there are 8 exorcists working in the Vatican under Father Amort, Gabriel Amort, who's a very good exorcist.
So he's talking about Gabriel Amort. There's actually a documentary out by him that William Friedkin did with him about an exorcism that he was doing. Of course, William Friedkin did the movie The Exorcist. He did a documentary with Gabriel Amort, and he was one of the exorcists within the Vatican, and he's referencing him at this time. I think he's since passed away, though.
But he is not the owner of the house. He doesn't represent Christ.
So only the Pope can really resolve this crisis in the church.
Can exorcise the demons.
And the Pope isn't doing it. He kind of does, but the Pope is going with Vatican II, the current Pope right now. He's not going to call out all these obscenities within the craziness within the church. He might say no war, but the current Pope isn't going to do it. I can guarantee you.
Yeah. And this would certainly explain then why, let's say, many good women, men and women who have, let's say, who are priests, who are parents of children, have maybe worked here and there to do something, and maybe they can save some souls. But that explains then why all the efforts, let's say, of pro-lifers and traditionalists
come to naught. Let me give you one example of one.
It says it comes to naught. It doesn't matter what the pro-lifers or what traditionalists want because of who have infiltrated the church, obviously. They are modernists. They are probably with the Synagogue of Satan. They are probably linked to Freemasons and people who see this sort of crazy one world order AI God that we're at now. And as Incognito says, it's like prophecy. So prophecy, or he's in with something. He understands because someone's feeding it to him. I don't know.
One direct effect. People just blink at this now, but they should suddenly say, how could that happen? In the same day, within 36 hours, this Holy Father had to receive Mikhail Gorbachev and Fidel Castro.
And he says right here that the Catholic Church should not be receiving anyone. They shouldn't be receiving communists. If you do not stand for it, if they are in absolute, look at this Communist Party, how many Catholics and Christians did they slaughter? Like hundreds of, way more than happened in Holocaust. Christians were slaughtered in the Russian Revolution. You shouldn't be meeting with these people who want the demise of the Catholic Church, but they meet with them anyways. And people don't get that. They're like, we got to get along. These people don't want to get along. You can't meet with them. They have a goal, and it's nefarious. And I don't even think it matters. Crony capitalism, communism, they're all Nazism. They're all melding into one with this authoritarian goal that is way beyond what the Catholic Church has ever done. And they've infiltrated the Catholic Church. That's why it looks so crazy now.
Now, Mikhail Gorbachev is the founder of the New World Religion, which people don't know about yet. He's the founder of it, and he's an atheist, and he's a Marxist. And he has no religion. Fidel Castro is an evil man who has stopped practicing religion for 30 or 40 years, and who is being cruel beyond description. They're invited, they come in, they shake the Pope's hand, they sit down with him and talk to them. But you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't entertain the devil's people, and they belong to Lucifer. You don't do that.
He says they're entertaining the devil's people. And then we got one more clip. We'll talk, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Malachi Martin, his strange death. Religion seems to be a problem. I mean, that's just too general of a statement. Because look, if you don't have any structure, if you don't have anything that tells you or guides you along and gives you some rules, everything will just end up in chaos. Everybody thinks, oh, I can be a libertarian. We'll just do what I want. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's just a pipe dream. But that's too general. That's too general. Just say religion's a problem. Okay, but it's also a structure, and it gives people a community, and it unites people, and it does serve a purpose. It's just when you get to the top, power always gets infiltrated. Power always gets infiltrated with Lucifer, and it inverts everything that it's supposed to do. That's one of the biggest problems with religion. And I mean, Revelation, all of this stuff, it really outlines a lot of things that's happening right now. Malachi Martin is He's saying, yeah, true stuff. Last video. Then we're going to talk about Malachi Martin's death because he, like, he serves as an exorcist. So we're going to talk about that.
Why are you against us? Now, there's a point I'd like to raise here, is that the way that Satanists are portrayed, let's say in Hollywood or in the movies, is quite a bit different from the description of the Satanist that was in Windswept House.
Oh yes, it's very different. It's very different because, say if you take, for instance, The Exorcist, the picture of called The Exorcist, with Linda Blair in it, based on Blatty's book, which is based on a real event, by the way, but distorted totally by Blatty and the picture. It really is Dracula Frankenstein horror film to make you shiver, give you goosebumps. And people love getting goosebumps. They love being made nervous, but it's all in the imagination. It's like any horror movie, like any Dracula Frankenstein movie. That's one thing. But I assure you, the reality of exorcism, the reality of demon possession, is totally different. I remember, to give you an example, there was a Dr. Hammond, psychologist, who always kept saying the same thing. He said, this is all imagination. He said that these people require very careful therapy. So finally, and he said, let me be present at an exorcism, thing we don't do normally. So finally we admitted him. Hammond never went back to psychiatry.
So he's talking about this Jewish Dr. Hammond. A lot of times in America, you can't just go and get an exorcism. You have to be totally psych and medically evaluated first to make sure there's no other issues, and then they could do an exorcism. So he had this Dr. Hammond, who I believe was Jewish, and he had him on an exorcism, and he was a psychiatrist, and then he saw the exorcism and he quit psychiatry, and I guess he became a Catholic. That's his story. That's Hollywood is Zionist occult. It's so strange and wicked, but it's infiltrated everything. One of the things I didn't mention is it used to be that it was God, then everything underneath. Now it's the government, and then the church is literally just become like an NGO, petitioning the government and all these bankers and powers. It's totally inverted, and it's slowly been coming that way since the 1600s. Probably since people start splitting away from the Catholic Church. It's just, and the bankers kill the kings and take over. It's always slowly been coming that way. So government's at the top of this all-seeing eye government, and they want absolute power, technology, and then the church is just like another NGO saying, hey, over here, like it's taking power away from it. And it's sort of doesn't even like, you can tell just by the way Trump talks to the Pope that he doesn't think the Pope has any power. He's the power. The bankers are the power, right? So, and it's been slowly happening, but it's happened a lot over the past 100 years. And I don't know where that puts us. We like to think, that because religion's so evil, it puts us in a better place. But I don't know if it puts us in a better place. I'm not sure that it does. I don't care what anyone says. Malachi Martin is a leprechaun name. Well, that's because he's Irish. Kabbalah. There's different kinds of Kabbalah, but the Kabbalah they're doing, some wicked Kabbalah. And I wouldn't be surprised they use acronyms as magic. And in American society, we practically speak in acronyms. It's creepy. All right, let's continue him talking about this fellow that basically quit psychiatry and became a Catholic after seeing his exorcism.
A Catholic, and he was Jewish originally. Once he was hit by the reality of the demon, of demonic presence. It's something that you don't forget, and it's nothing like looking at The Exorcist or any of the Satanist pictures with Satan with claws and cloven hooves and big yellow eyes and cruel. No, that's lovely imagination, and people love it because it's goosebumps.
But it's not reality.
Not reality, no.
And the reality seems to be then that these Satanists tend to be very respected men in respected professions.
The Satanists I know who belong to Luciferian and Satanist covens in New York are all lawyers, doctors, architects, nurses.
So he's telling you who actually worships Lucifer. It's not like the movies where the heads twist around. It's lawyers, doctors, architects. He's telling you it's like watching Devil's Advocate. That movie's actually creepy. It's got Keanu Reeves and come on. What's his name? Oh no. I can't believe I can't remember his name. He's so famous. He was in The Godfather. Oh. Anyways, Al Pacino. There it came. It popped in my head. Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. All these Satanists, they all look like businessmen, and it's creepy because once you get into that world and they you realize that you're surrounded everywhere you go. You can't escape the reach, and you sign the contract and they own you, and basically you serve them or you die, or they'll drive you crazy, or they'll push you off a building, or like creepy stuff. Rosemary's Baby. That's it's good, but the the real Satanists in this country, you're just walking into your dentist, It's like crazy stuff. It's nuts. It's nuts. Let's continue listening to him describe the real Satanists.
Brokers, businessmen, entrepreneurs, and they're perfectly respectable citizens. They pay their taxes. They even contribute to the local church. Some of them are Catholic, some of them are Protestant, some of them are Jewish. No, they're perfectly respectable as far as civic life goes. They're models of civic behavior, and they usually have great sexual probity and business probity. Their word is their bond. And their work as surgeons or as doctors or research scientists is impeccable. No.
Okay, so Malachi's basically telling us all about how everything's infiltrated and that they're normal people. You won't know they're there. It's the fool. And the biggest fool is to believe that this stuff doesn't exist. That's why it's important not to prayer. That's why taking the supernatural out of Catholicism was so important. So you just don't believe the devils exist. You're like, oh, this is just customs. It's watered down. It's just what I do. And I'm not saying Natalie, that there wasn't any issues in the Catholic Church or abuse. My grandfather was Irish Catholic. He was abused. We're going to look at a clip of Dan Rehill at the end. He's a father now. He was abused. He really explains interestingly when he talks about, coming back to the church and being a minister, that we forgive the people that abuse us because in our forgiveness, we help them heal in another life and become better. I mean, I'm glossing it over. But there's lots of issues. Demi Moore with Schwarzenegger? I think you mean, I think you're talking about, I don't think Demi Moore was in it. I think you might be talking about End of Days. Demi Moore wasn't in that movie. But it's an interesting movie. There was one in 1999 called End of Days, and it was that girl from The Craft that was in it. The girl from The Craft was in it. It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger and what's the Irish actor? I know his name. I was just looking at a clip from it the other day. I can see Gabriel Burns. He plays the devil. Dirk and Zink, thank you so much. I hope you subscribe and come back. We do live streams every Sunday at 5 p.m. I thank you for liking this channel. Yeah, End of Days. Good movie. End of Days. Good one. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually, Arnie does a good job in that one, some acting, but it's kind of, Hollywood's always going to gloss over real Catholicism because it's Hollywood. But it's a decent movie, and Gabriel Burns is a good actor, so you guys can definitely do it. We're going to go into the scene. We're going to talk about how we're going to talk a little bit of Malachi Martin. I think we are. Do I still have it up? Yep. Malachi Martin used to appear a lot and talk on this stuff a lot, especially on Art Bell. You can go find it on YouTube. But let me see. It's not. Let me refresh this because there we go. Let's reshare that again because it wasn't showing up. There we go. Malachi Martin had a strange death. This is New York Post. Remember, when we're saying New York Post, we're talking, they're the arm of Mossad, but we're going to take this lightly. It says, exorcist priest died after possessed child spoke to him. This was published on January 13th, 2017 by Leah Istowich. And it says, a possessed child is believed to be the culprit behind the death of the Irish priest who inspired The Exorcist, a new documentary claims. Malachi Martin went to perform an exorcism on a 4-year-old girl in Connecticut in 1999, the same year that End of Days came out, by the way, guys, but mysteriously died soon after when he was pushed by an invisible force. In the Netflix documentary, Hostage to the Devil, Martin's pal and former CIA agent Robert Morrow, he was friends with the CIA agent, ding, 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 red flag, a little bit of one, recalled how when Martin went to greet the girl at her home, the child said to him, so you're Malachi Martin and you think you can help her. Morrow frequently drove Martin to carry out exorcisms and said he was there the day of the creepy interaction, according to the Mirror. Robert is a former CIA agent, and this is his most disturbing thing he'd ever seen in all his years working for the U.S. government. And I'm pretty sure he's seen some disturbing things working for the U.S. government. Martin died at the age of 78 after suffering from a head trauma in the fall during this exorcism. The Doctor, which debuts Sunday, takes a look into Martin's work as a Jesuit priest. The documentary, sorry, not the Doctor. It looks at his work as a Jesuit priest, professor, author, and most notably an exorcist, a career he turned to after moving to New York in 1966. Of course, we just went over that. He was disillusioned by the Vatican II and everything that he heard they were doing. When he left the church, he moved to New York. He had various jobs, including a taxi driver, a waiter, and a writer. But really, he saw that there was a need for people to be assisted and to be given support in terms of relief. I suppose from some sort of demonic infestation of someone themselves or of their home, and felt that the church wasn't providing that support anymore because, like we said, they took the supernatural out of it. And he saw the need, and it's growing. People are asking for exorcists all over the place. Apparently, he was the inspiration behind Father Marin for The Exorcist. Now, remember, we did a show on The Exorcist. We did a show on The Exorcist where we talked about the writer, William Peter Blatty. He was in psychological operations. He actually worked for the CIA. He was in psychological operations over in, was it Lebanon? And he was Lebanese, but he was Catholic. No, he wasn't Catholic. No, him and his mother, they weren't Catholic. They were an Orthodox Christian sect that was not Catholic. So he's deeply Christian, and he served as psychological operations, the author of The Exorcist. So these guys are in with the CIA. So I don't know what level, even at this time, that the CIA is operating within the Catholic Church, but obviously there's some relationship. So he comes back. He takes a break. He wrote, William Peter Blatty wrote scripts for funny movies, comedy, and then he goes and writes The Exorcist, and it gets turned into a movie directed by William Friedkin. And I don't know if these movies, like people say, they help people be Christian or come to Catholicism, but I think they might help release the demons. I don't know. I'm saying they seem to have more demons than we ever did before. I think the only thing that stops that, if you're actually observant and disciplined in not being a sinful, crazy person that just goes with all the novelties of the world. And Malachi Martin says it. So they believe that Malachi Martin and this CIA agent, I don't know if he's telling the truth or he's trying to infiltrate the storyline or make it sound crazy, but he's saying that Malachi Martin died from this push, that the push was done by this 4-year-old that was possessed by something, and that caused him to hemorrhage, and that is how he died. So is that like a punch to Catholicism, or is it true? Is the story just made up? I don't know. But we should be suspicious because this same guy who is saying that Malachi Martin died from being pushed during an exorcism, that CIA agent also said that Malachi Martin was a Cold War Vatican spy and an advisor to 3 Pope. The former CIA officer Robert Morrow Jr. alleged that Martin was a Cold War Vatican spy and advisor to 3 popes, though Martin himself denied being a spy. Robert Morrow wrote a book called Malachi Martin in the Shadows of the Vatican, positions him as a Cold War spy for them. Martin served as the private secretary to Cardinal Augustin B., giving him access to Vatican discussions. He wrote extensively about satanic rituals in the Vatican, the Third Secret of Fatima, and Freemasonry's influence on the church. While supporters see him as a whistleblower, author Michael Cuono noted that in American Exorcism that Martin expressed annoyance at the swirl of rumors surrounding his personal life, and he denies emphatically being a spy. So this could just be a CIA thing to tip people off and make them suspicious of him so they don't listen to him. Could be. Comments say the Vatican has been infiltrated. I remember the Vatican was having straight out wars between the bishops and priests before Malachi even talked about it. Yeah, a lot of people quit. A lot of people after Vatican II left the church because they didn't agree with a lot of the changes. And the idea was to make Catholicism like a corporation. So it's no longer spiritual. You're not doing these things for attainment to God. You're basically trying to appeal to as many people as possible. And I just think it's, I don't know, maybe it worked. Maybe I don't know how well it worked. I don't know how well it worked. But anyways, guys, there is lots of stuff. You can listen to Malachi Martin in his own words. You can listen to him all over YouTube. We're going to finish the show up looking at a clip from Father Dan Rehill about demons. And this is big. I actually first started talking about stuff like this in an old podcast in 2017 because there were people, exorcisms have been on the rise for the past 10 years. The need for them, people looking into them. Back in 2017, I was researching this and they were talking about the need that people are coming and saying they wanted exorcism. Right? They wanted it, and it's just grown ever since because people are seeing the real face of the New World Order and hearing what they want to do with us, looking at things like Palantir, the war in Iran. Everybody is, Bill Gates, Palantir now wants to monitor all the farms. Like, it's getting crazy. And they're seeing this New World Order revelation stuff play out, and things are being revealed to them, and they're going, oh, whoa. We got to be careful, though, because the CIA and all these assets could be infiltrated. That they're probably in the Vatican. And so people could join that thinking that they're joining the Catholic Church, and they could be nudged into the wrong direction. I'm going to be reading this book. It's written by Dr. Deep State, who has highlighted a lot of this stuff. It's called Saints of the Apocalypse. So I'm going to try to, in the next couple of weeks, get through this book and read it. I ordered it. I haven't gotten to it. I've been so busy. But this is going to be on the website as one of the things I'm going to be reading. Saints of the Apocalypse, Escaping the Empire of Spectacle. That is what it is. That's the word I'm always looking for, spectacle. They're always trying to pull you into the spectacle, the trauma, the drama between the Pope and Trump, Trump's fake assassination, Kamala, Biden, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Just a whole lot of crazy. And that's not what the original church would have told you to do. Like, original popes or priests would have been pious. The point is to be humble and escape the spectacle, right? And it's not about money. It's not about power. And a lot of the evangelical and Protestant religions, there's so many different names for them. They just go crazy on money, 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 money. The Mormon Church, it's all about money and stocks. The corporations are the new religion, and it is a clusterfuck, a swirl of crazy. And so I'm gonna check this book out and see what they say. What are the saints telling you? They don't even want you talking to the saints. They don't want you to have some higher power. They want you hooked up into Palantir. Oh, Durkin Zink, you're in Communist Canada. I'm actually from Communist Canada. I'm in the United States right now, but I was born and raised, lived in Canada most of all my life, but I have been out of Canada for several years now. So I'm so sorry that you are dealing with Canada, but there are problems to there's problems in every country right now because it's all one new world order. Like, it's all one thing, and they're doing different things. They're trying to look different in different countries, but it's all one giant clusterfuck that's merging. And I know Revelation says this is how it's supposed to go. We're supposed to observe, not absorb. That's why I was like, I am not getting engaged in this Trump crazy stupid crap. Ontario is a province in Canada. Just to let you know. All right, so we're going to end it up in we're going to finish this one up with a video. I'm on small here, but I want the video to play in large. This is Father Dan Rehill. He is being interviewed on Michael Knowles. Now, Michael Knowles works for Daily Wire, and I can't stand Daily Wire, but whatever. We'll listen to Father Dan Rehill and what he says. Let's see. Do I have it? Oh, you guys, before I do this, because I put this video on because I didn't have enough room, I'm going to have to switch out. Hold on. I'm here. I'm turning my camera on, and you'll see me reappear in about 1 minute. Still here. We're going to have to redo that all over again. I had to re-put myself in because I had to upload new stuff just to get this video, and it makes me reload the whole system again and come in a new way. So let's go here, and we will share the screen, and we'll look at this video I have of Dan Rehill talking about exorcisms and all the evils of today's world.
Yes, it's I mean, everybody, perfectly secular people, will say so-and-so had demons. Oh, he never got over his demons. But they mean it in this metaphorical sense.
They do.
And the longer I've lived, the more literally I view that kind of a scene. And even more so, the less of a distinction I see between the literal and the figurative.
Yeah, well, we also believe we have an angel assigned to us, a guardian angel. That angel has a lot of power, but the more you acknowledge the angel and ask for his help, the more power he can give you. So I tell people every morning, wake up, thank God for the new day, thank a song of gratitude, and then turn to your angel and say, I appreciate your help today. And these are the things I struggle with. These are the appointments today I think are going to be difficult, the meetings I have. Can you be there and intercede for me through these things? You'd be surprised how different your day goes. And if you surrender to the day and not push for getting things your way, because we frequently think, I have to have it this way. But then if you let it go and see what God's going to do, if you've given him permission over the day, he will wrap it up in a way so much more clean, neat, and tidy than you could ever imagine that you could do. But but you have to do it to test it, right? So some people say, well, I don't believe in that, I'm not going to do it. Well, then you're going to miss out. We can only lead you to the water. So you have your angel, but then you have these demons. Now, the demons, their number one job is to get you to sin. When most people talk about demons, they think of the Exorcist movie, the devil with the horns and the spear. He can appear that way, but 96-7% of his work is to tempt to sin, and all of his minions. Because when we sin, we break away from God. And once we break away from God, then they can really go after us.
Wise words from Father Dan Rehill. You got to pray to your guardian angel every morning and ask them to protect you. And it's just about getting you to sin, getting you to do bad things. They're not going to show up. Your head's not going to spin 360 degrees. You know, it's not, nothing crazy is gonna go and happen in that term to you. Likely you're just gonna be tempted to something you shouldn't do, and we've all been there, myself included. Just things we know we shouldn't do. And so I wanted to end it on a more positive note than just a new world order, and that there is things there. They don't want you to connect to them. They want you to connect to their creepy system with a neural link brain chip in your head. But there is some guiding angels there that are there for you to help you weave around the temptations of life. And that's how I'm going to end the show today, guys. I am going to get going. I will probably do a live stream that is for members, or we'll do it live for live audience and then pop it into members during the week. I'll have to figure that out with my schedule. And I may do a mobile live where I follow up on certain things, but I appreciate you guys. I had 45 of you in the room tonight, so make sure to subscribe and come back on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll definitely cover this topic more. We'll definitely copy this. It's not your regular angels, it's guardian ones. You've got them. They're there. You don't really get down and pray to them like the way you would God, but you kind of say, hey, can you give me some assistance? Like, I'm doing this thing today. I could need some help, You're supposed to talk to the saints. You're supposed to talk to the saints in this book too. So we will see you guys during the week. I'm always posting and putting posts up. This is going live. You can look at this live. We're on YouTube, Kick, Twitch. We are on the Substack. There's lots of articles over at the Substack. And then it's on Locals as well. So if you like Locals, the stuff will be there on Locals. Go to the website. All the stuff are there, theclusterfuck.com. And I will see you during the weeks, guys. Cheerios. Cheerios.